There are the MVP odds, courtesy of BetMGM. Patrick Mahomes now the prohibitive favorite. It had been Josh Allen for the longest time. Josh Allen is down to 10-1. So we're going to do a draft of our MVP candidates as of right now. They have changed the voting for the AP. Each of the 50 voters will list 5, it's good. It's smart. It gives more people recognition, and it reduces the chances of a tie. I just think it's smart. It's long overdue, so kudos to the AP for making that change. We'll have 6 in this draft. Miles, you get the first pick.
Yeah, I love the change that the AP made, and I also am going to make the obvious pick here. And to me, the MVP of the league right now is Patrick Mahomes. I mean, when I started the season, or when they started the season, I felt like, and I think Sim said this too, right? That Patrick Mahomes is going to have his best year yet. And so far, that's really happening. And he's got 400 more passing yards than anybody else. He has 6 more passing touchdowns than anybody else at 29. And he's tied for second among qualified passers at 8.1 yards per attempt. I mean, it's no Tyreek Hill, no problem. They keep rotating in different guys. Guys have gotten hurt. Kadarius Toney comes in. Immediately he contributes. Travis Kelce is playing like the best tight end in football. And when he gets one-on-one coverage, that's where Patrick Mahomes is going. It's been a well-oiled machine this year in ways that it really was not last year for the Chiefs, and they still were great. All right, they are even better this year, and I feel like this offense is as good as it's been since Patrick Mahomes has been there.
You know, I have plenty of offseason takes that ultimately are proven incorrect, but one thing that I said after the Chiefs lost Tyreek Hill and the Packers lost Devontae Adams, I'm very concerned about the Packers offense. I'm not concerned about the Chiefs offense, even without Tyreek Hill, because of Patrick Mahomes and all the other weapons and the way they draw it up and the way they make it work. So I agree with you. He's the favorite right now for good reason. I'll go Jalen Hurts with the guy who's in second position on the odds. And here's the reality. And I say this all the time, but it doesn't stop me from continuing to say it because I don't ever hear anybody else say it. The MVP is almost always a quarterback from one of the 2 number 1 seeds. That's how it works. So it's fun to talk about it beforehand, but it doesn't matter until we know what the playoff tree is and we see who the 1 seeds are. That's when we have that vibe. The voting happens 3 days later, right after the regular season ends. The 1 seed is so important now. It's the only team that gets the bye in each conference. So as it stands right now, it's going to be Mahomes or Jalen Hurts. It's going to be one of the 2. And Mahomes probably would get the edge for name recognition and whatnot. But Jalen Hurts, you can make a good case for him. Great runner, better runner than Mahomes. Clearly not as good of a passer, but improving. And a great leader. A great leader of men. A great leader of the locker room. A great presence that has elevated that team and has them all thinking the way he does. And when you think about MVP, to me, it's more than stats. That's for Offensive Player of the Year. This is the guy who is the most valuable to his team. Without Jalen Hurts, of course, without Patrick Mahomes, the Chiefs don't have a chance either. But there's no way the Eagles are doing what they're doing without Jalen Hurts.
I agree, and I agree with you about Jalen Hurts' leadership, too. It really is. It's kind of second to none, but I think you have to kind of pay that same compliment to Patrick Mahomes, right? Because his leadership is second to none, and we see that from the way he got all of those guys together in the offseason, got them all comfortable with him, and then that's why he's
voluntary.
Able to do the things that he has done. Yeah. Well, yeah. Voluntary. Well, I don't know what did I do that? I wasn't.
That's
really
a slap at Aaron Rodgers.
Oh well,
I'm doing it because I'm Aaron Rodgers catching a stray.
I didn't.
Your point is well taken.
Name at all.
That's leadership. I did, but I did,
and
did. I'm happy I did. You show up. You're present. You're there beyond the voluntary program. You get your guys together. You get everyone on the same page. You show them that you give a crap. So I agree with you. Great leadership skills for both of the MVP favorites. All right, we'll move on to round 2. Who do you have next? Now it gets a little more interesting.
Yeah, I guess so. But I would take Tua Tagovailoa because he's playing really, really, really good football. And a lot of that has to do with the system that Mike McDaniel has brought in. It has to do with his weapons. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are probably the best receiving duo in football. I feel pretty comfortable saying that. But he's still got to get the passes there, right? And you still have to be accurate. And he still has been so good in terms of his passer rating. I mean, he's at about what, 119, I think it is right now. It's 115.7. I have it in front of me as I look at it. It's 10 point higher than anybody else right now in the National Football League. And when he starts and finishes games, they win. This week against San Francisco is going to be a big test. You know, if he goes out there and he lights it up against that defense, then he might shoot up even further on my list for MVP candidates, because this, like I said, that San Francisco defense is that good that if he goes out there and he balls out, boy, that's going to mean a lot.
See, and I'm going to take Josh Allen, and this gets back to I have a greater belief that the Bills will be the 1 seed than the Dolphins right now. We talked about it earlier. What's the confidence level the Dolphins are going to hold on to the top spot in the AFC East? I think the Bills ultimately win that division. If the Bills are the 1 seed, then Josh Allen is the MVP. And the fact that so much hype and attention had been attached to him, he was the favorite from all of the offseason through the first half of the regular season. If they come out of this with the 1 seed, then it's him. And I'm more confident in the Bills doing it than the Dolphins. The Dolphins have to be the 1 seed for Tua to be the MVP. I mean, it gets back to this whole 1 seed quarterback thing, but it's critical to the final analysis. All right, final round. Myles, who do you have?
I'm going to take your guy, and I'm going to go Justin Jefferson. And frankly, I'd have Justin Jefferson over Josh Allen right now, because Josh Allen is tied for the league lead in interceptions, and he's lost 3 fumbles. He's creating too many turnover plays, right? But Justin Jefferson, he makes so many catches that, he makes the routine catches, he makes the special catches, but those tough catches, like the catch that set up the Thielen touchdown on Thanksgiving, that's just one where, it counts as however many yards, but so many receivers would drop that ball after they get hit. It's just always these tough, really strong catches that he makes that most people can't. And I just think that so elevates him. If the Vikings don't have Justin Jefferson, they're not nearly as good as they are, right? And usually we say that about the QB, but I just really feel that strongly about Justin Jefferson. You know, he's already set the mark for most receiving yards by a player in his first 3 years and got 6 games left to go. That's incredible. I think he deserves some MVP consideration.
And, you know, the problem is we saw the odds earlier. He and Kirk Cousins had the exact same. If we have the graphic, we can show it again at plus 8,000, 80 to 1. Not bad value. And here's the problem. Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson would split votes. If the Vikings somehow get the number 1 seed, which they're 1 game behind, they have to make up 2 games over the final 6 because they lose the tiebreaker head-to-head with the Eagles. But Cousins and Jefferson, I think, would split vote, and it would make it harder for either of them to win. And again, that's one of the reasons why a receiver has never won it. Because if a receiver has a special year, chances are the quarterback had an even more special year, and the quarterback is the one who gets the MVP votes. I'm going to pivot away from either of the Vikings and go to Joe Burrow for my next one because, again, the Bengals are on the rise. They're 2 games behind the Chiefs. They have a chance to cut it to 1. They have a chance to continue to rise. They have a chance to get the 1 seed. And if they get the 1 seed, Joe Burrow, it comes down to Joe Burrow or Jalen Hurts as the MVP at that point. And maybe Burrow, with this late kick, does enough. It was a late kick by Adrian Peterson that stole the MVP a decade ago from Peyton Manning. We still have a third of the season to go. And recency bias is a thing. So somebody is going to rise up with a great performance down the stretch, and that's going to capture us. And I think Joe Burrow is a guy who could do it.
Yeah, I mean, I do too. Look, this game that's coming up against the Kansas City Chiefs, big national profile game, he balls out in that one, then yeah, that's absolutely going to vaunt him up in people's minds that he could certainly be the MVP of the league. He's played great even without, you know, some of his top weapons over the last few weeks. Jamar Chase hasn't played in a few weeks with that hip injury. They think he's going to be back this week, but still, I mean, Joe Burrow has been elevating that team throughout the course of this season. And yeah, I can certainly see him with a late push becoming an MVP.
Yeah, no Joe Mixon this past weekend. He had that 5-touchdown game a few weeks back. Jamar Chase has now missed 4 games, and they keep winning, and they've caught the Ravens. And if they catch the Chiefs, Burrow may very well be the league MVP. Let's take a break. We'll wrap up this Wednesday edition of PFT Live right after this. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.